Government agencies are undertaking an unprecedented period of IT and application modernization. Efforts to effectively collect, manage, and analyze vast volumes of data, combined with the need to operate securely in today's multi-cloud operating environment, have placed tremendous challenges on IT officials to manage multi-pronged IT modernization initiatives. I'm Billy Mitchell with Scoop News Group, and joining me today is Lauren Knausenberger, Chief Information Officer of the U.S. Air Force. Lauren, thanks so much for joining me today.
It's great to be here.
So Lauren, I'd like to start with the challenges you're facing in managing the rising volume of data while also trying to make data more accessible to a broad range of stakeholders.
Absolutely. So we do have quite a volume of data in quite a diverse set of compute environments. Everything from mainframe COBOL systems, older than I am, up to, of course, all of the major cloud providers that you would know of. And the technical solution to get access to that data is actually not the hardest part. You can do a lot of things with APIs. We can bring data into the cloud relatively easily at this point. We're much faster at bringing data to where we need it to go. We have 6 big data platforms that are part of our Department of the Air Force data fabric that do make this a lot easier than it once was, and also a data catalog that more and more of our data sets are registering in. And that's in addition to having a data library as one of our applications, having more and more data in Vault, in our enterprise clouds, also in our Envision platform. But the really hard part with all of that data is governance and also security, because we want to make the data accessible to as many people as possible. But at some point, when you make that much data accessible to everyone, the level of classification rises. And so it becomes a very challenging governance concern to think through who should have access to this data. How do we maximize access without causing a security concern? And micro-segmentation is going to be huge, and that's a big part of our zero trust strategy that will help to solve some of the problem of exactly which data should I have access to without having to worry about being in a different environment, without having to worry about the data flow. We know that I, as in my identity, have access to that piece of data, and the data is tagged to the level that tells me that I can have it, and perhaps that even in aggregation I can. So we have a long journey to get to that level, but that is absolutely where we're headed.
How are you approaching the demands for data to move more freely and dynamically across those cloud environments?
So it's a lot easier than it once was to move data between cloud environments. There are a lot of open source applications. More and more tools in the cloud environments allow you to make a little bit of a cloud agnostic data call. There are platforms that will allow you to be truly cloud agnostic. We are cloud agnostic in that we don't care which cloud provider is giving us the service, but we actually try to minimize moving data between the clouds when we can, just because of the ingress and egress costs. Largely, we have certain types of applications with certain types of attributes in an AWS versus a Microsoft versus a Google. Our ERPs are largely in Oracle. And so when we do need data to move between clouds, it's relatively easy to put together an API. But we will be publishing an API strategy over the next 6 months where we really look at how do we rapidly approve APIs? How do we rapidly approve movement of data in general? And how do we maximize kind of the use of that data for mission without duplicating cost, without copying data different places? We want to make sure that we know exactly where that source data is, that we can pull it, we can do so efficiently and effectively for the mission.
At the same time, where are you focusing your efforts to protect the security of all that data moving between various systems internally and those operated by other entities?
As we continue to enable decision advantage and shorten the kill chain, moving data all over the world at greater speed than we have ever done, zero trust is kind of the bedrock, the North Star, that helps us to protect that data. And if you look at our roadmap, we're very specific about it. I was actually out in Silicon Valley about a month ago, and even though Silicon Valley and our big American tech companies in general are at the forefront of all of the underlying technology that will make up Zero Trust, I became aware that Zero Trust in the venture space right now, it's become the buzzword that nobody knows what it means. And so much like blockchain a few years ago, just add blockchain to the title of my company and I'm going to get 10x valuation. That's where Zero Trust is now. And it's kind of past the end of the hype curve where folks are like, well, what really is this thing? And so we've actually been very specific in the Department of Defense of exactly what we mean when we say Zero Trust and exactly how things come together in that roadmap. So if folks are wondering about that, you can read the DoD Zero Trust strategy, and you can read our Zero Trust and our ICAM roadmaps. And that is exactly how we are going about determining identity, tagging our data, looking at factors within our network. It's a huge part of how we are moving toward a more secure future.
In light of how rapidly tech is changing, how are you trying to strike a balance between achieving economies of scale and preserving flexibility and choice as you move forward with your IT modernization?
So preserving economy of scale and choice in applications is always a really tough job for CIO. We absolutely have to make the most of our enterprise investments. And for instance, one big example, Office 365, we're spending a lot of money on our business environment. We get a lot of capability for it, including low-code, no-code, Power Apps, chat capability. It solves a lot of problems very seamlessly for us. But we still have to have some level of tool choice because time and time again, studies have proven that high-performing teams, they need to have some level of tool choice, and they're probably going to make those choices a lot faster than an enterprise of 750,000 people globally can make, and certainly faster than the POM cycle of the Department of Defense. And so I will definitely be the first to admit we haven't gotten this perfect, but the way that I approach it is I say, look, we are making the most of X enterprise investment, all things that do these things. We want you to use this as your first choice. But if you see something else that meets a need, that not just for you, maybe for others, for your team, let's register it, let's make sure that it's accredited for the network, let's track the investment, let's make sure that whatever that alternate capability is, let's make sure that we're buying it also on an enterprise agreement. So for instance, Mattermost is a huge capability for our DevSecOps community. If I look at the commercial sector, enterprises that use Office 365, also for a percentage of their enterprise, they probably have a Slack or a Mattermost or another kind of collaboration capability for self-forming teams that maybe aren't always in the same subject matter each day. Whereas Teams tends to be a little bit more structured. I'm going to run my day-to-day business with my official team on Teams with action officers in the Pentagon. We're going to leverage Teams a lot. But for the DevSecOps community, the innovation community, tools like Mattermost and Slack, they're critical. And so I want to make sure that we enable it safely, that we're getting a really good deal when we buy the software. But we actually have a strategic effort right now to ask airmen, what are the tools that you need to do your job, and to really prioritize getting those tools out to people. Because we do have to, while we have to enable choice, we don't have an infinite amount of money. So as we make those choices, we have to make sure that we are really equipping those high-performing teams to be more lethal in their mission.
And finally, how do you view the state of relations between agencies and technology partners on the industry side? Have things gotten stronger and more productive? And what would help unlock greater value in those relations?
I think that we've had strong partnerships with the defense industrial base, for decades. That's part of why, we are awesome as a defense community. And I think that what we've done is we've successfully expanded that defense industrial base and also created some really healthy competition within the defense industrial base that has made even our traditional DIB much stronger and innovated at a much faster level than I've ever seen. And I think it's wonderful that we have new players like SpaceX and Microsoft's still a relatively new player, Google, Amazon. And so I think that the relationships with those companies like ServiceNow, I think that they are getting stronger and stronger. And I think that people are, we have things like the war in Ukraine really uniting people and bringing people together. I think there's a sense of patriotism. I think people are, anybody that was thinking, oh, this is just fun and games and drum beating, there are real threats in the world, and people can see it firsthand with what's happening in Ukraine right now. So I think that people are awake. They really want to contribute to the defense mission. I'm thrilled that our defense industrial base has grown, and that more people can contribute. And I think that if we want to continue to have just really, really great relationships, one of the things that we're doing to foster that is we are publishing roadmaps, because we want to be really clear about where we're headed. We want companies to know where we need them to invest. We want to have a lot of very open conversations. And we are out communicating as often as we can with industry, with media organizations like FedScoop, and with others, to make sure that as we're making investments, we're making smart investments, that industry has time to kind of throw darts at our plans so that we can pivot before we spend lots of money, and that everybody has a fair shot to compete for the things that we're doing, and that we can do it together.
Fantastic insights. Always great to chat with you, Lauren. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks a lot. Always great to be here.